live footage of the United States erasing our history. Because this is communist. This is the brink. And folks, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like me and you like what we do here. And if you love it, you can also become a Daily Caller Patriot. Also, folks, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who watches this and leaves comments and interacts with this. You don't understand how much your support means to me. I read every comment, all the bad ones, all the good ones. So the Black History Museum in Charlottesville melted down the historic statue of Robert E. Lee. Have a look. Now, a group of people, they asked the city not to hand the statue over to the museum, arguing that it should be left intact or turned into a Civil War cannon. But the museum went ahead with its plan anyway, in secret, at an undisclosed location. Because, again, if you're doing things on the up and up and it's a good idea, it's best to do it in a secret, undisclosed location and not tell anybody, right? Look, Robert E. Lee was a Confederate. He did at one point defend the indefensible. But he was more than just a Confederate general. Lee was a symbol of reconciliation after the Civil War. When Lee surrendered, a lot of Confederates, they feared humiliation. They feared potential mass executions because, at that time, other world victors had done that. But Robert E. Lee, he worked with Ulysses S. Grant to parole the Confederate soldiers if they promised not to take up arms against the United States again. That was a huge, huge move on Lee's behalf to bring the United States one step closer to reunification. Lee also worked to quell tempers of bitter Confederates, and when he requested that President Andrew Johnson pardon him, it was a sign to the other Confederates that they could follow his leadership and also accept amnesty. And I think a lot of people tend to forget this was our most deadly and bloodiest war. There were a lot of tensions before, during, and after. Lee's efforts to promote peace, it was essential to the reunification of the United States. And so it is very difficult in 2023 to then reconcile why we have resorted to expunge him from public life. Now, the museum says that they're going to use the melted fragments to make a new piece of art. Guaranteed, that statue has been destroyed and will be turned into something humiliating. And you may be saying, oh, well, Lee defended slavery, so whatever. And I agree, again, slavery is indefensible, but this is not a black and white issue, okay? There are a lot of gray areas here. And I think the most important is that Robert E. Lee is not the first, and he is not the last American to be expunged from history. Remember, the New York City Council removed Thomas Jefferson, of all people, right, perhaps the most important American in all of history, because he wasn't perfect. Some Black and Latino council members said that since Jefferson was a slaveholder, he should essentially have his, statue, bust banished. We are erasing our history and we're okay with it? Some parts of history are ugly. Lee had bad parts, he had good parts, and we have resorted to just dismantling his statue and burning it down? Now, I want to turn our attention to Maine. What has happened this week is horrific, okay? I remember when Sandy Hook happened, and every time I see one of these, it is just heartbreaking. Same gut reaction, same sadness, same tears. And I know Americans across the country feel that way. But, of course, the knee-jerk reaction is to disarm every single American because of one bad faith actor, right? It's to slander the state of Maine for not banning so-called, assault-style weapons, or for allowing permitless concealed carry, which in other words just means that Maine is allowing Americans to exercise their Second Amendment right without government infringement, right? I want you to have a listen to CNN's Jake Tapper.
I said it before, only in the United States would an anchor standing in a war zone have to go back to the United States for the breaking news because there's something more violent happening there.
Now, this would be a fine point to make if it were true, but if CNN covered the violence that we see daily in Washington, D.C., Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Minneapolis, New York City on the daily, they would never have time to cover the war in Israel or any war for that matter, because there is so much violence in the United States every single day. But why don't they cover it? Because it doesn't fit a narrative, right? Black on black crime doesn't fit the narrative. Inner city shootings doesn't fit the narrative. Gang crime doesn't fit the narrative. And why doesn't it fit the narrative? Because it's happening in blue cities with tight gun control with illegal guns, right? But a mass shooting, well, that's different, right? They give this expansive coverage because their goal is total gun confiscation. And don't believe me? Take it from Vice President Kamala Harris, the same vice president that swore to uphold the Constitution, right? The Second Amendment. And this is what she has to say.
Gun violence has terrorized and traumatized so many of our communities in this country. And let us be clear, it does not have to be this way, as our friends in Australia have demonstrated.
Or take it from Democrat Jared Golden.
Which is why I now call on the United States Congress to ban assault rifles like the one used by the sick perpetrator of this mass killing. For the good of my community, I will work with any colleague to get this done in the time that I have left in Congress.
What exactly is an assault rifle? You could put your best definitions down in the comment section, and I'll read through these over the weekend, and we'll come back to them on Monday. Because let me tell you something. This is an assault pen, and this is an assault hairbrush, right? And this is an assault fist if I can use it the right way, okay? Catch my drift. Anything is an assault fill in the blank if you use it correctly, right? I have assault knives upstairs. Some days they're steak knives, some days they're butter knives, some days they're assault knives, right? But what Democrats and the anti-gun lobby have done is they stole this term from the military to deliberately mislead the public about guns to push their agenda, right? The term assault rifle, at least amongst, military personnel and experts, it refers to automatic firearms. Not semi-automatic firearms. But that is what gun control advocates want to ban. They would be happy. They would stop it if they said, well, you can have a musket, right? You can have a musket that you have to load every time, okay? Fully automatic rifles are very difficult to get. Most firearms are actually created to be semi-automatic, meaning one pull of the trigger releases one bullet. In order to get an automatic weapon, you have to go through, ATF to get a permit, background checks, fingerprints. It is so difficult, expensive, and time-consuming, right? Nearly impossible. So with that in mind, that means that Democrats want to ban semi-automatics, which is most of the firearms in circulation, okay? That is total gun confiscation. But remember, folks, they're doing this for our safety. Right? They want to keep us safe because they do so well in Washington and New York and all those other cities I listed. They want to bring it to the entire country. Because remember, safety is always the alibi of a tyrant. They did it for our health during COVID. They take away our Second Amendment right for our safety. And you just got to wonder, they're doing it for our safety. They want to protect us from evil, scary, mean guns. Meanwhile, the founders included the Second Amendment because they wanted to protect us from a government that would try to convince us that we don't need firearms because we could rely on the same government that can't stop these mass shootings, even though these people always somehow end up on an FBI watch list or under, the CIA knows about them weeks, months in advance, but they never catch them until it's too late. So that is the government that we're supposed to trust after they take away our Second Amendment rights. We're supposed to put faith in the FBI to keep us safe when they can't even do their job, when they have ample evidence, when they have ample warning that something like this is going to happen. And that's who we're supposed to trust for our safety. I tell you, man, nothing makes me feel as warm and cozy as knowing that my government is there to keep me safe and protect me, right? Thank God for a huge, huge, huge big brother. Folks, we will be back here on Monday with more On the Brink. Remember, share this with your friends, family, people you hate, people you love, right? Everybody's bound to get something out of this. I appreciate all of you guys for sticking around here, and we will see you on Monday.